The only thing I did, I went on the set a couple of times out there.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually making some pictures for the owner of Orton at the time, and the publicity type stuff, not of the movie,
Right.
but animals around there. He came out, and I said, this might be the kind of guy I might want to hang on to. And I gave him a card. I remember giving him the card.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, so what do you do in your real life? I said, well, I've done it all, buddy. And I'll tell you right now, my wife and I are thinking about opening a prop shop because I have a reputation. If you need it, I can get it. I can get it damn fast.
That is gold to Tantar's ears.
Absolutely.
You were in his pocket. Oh, you know how to romance a Tantar, don't you?
Oh, yeah. And we did a lot of purchase orders, too. I mean, they were big purchases.
Yeah.
I furnished the blue lights, and I was working for Smith & Wesson. We had a blue light system. They sent down 4 blue lights to mount on the vehicles, no charge. Sent them down here express. They sent them right to the studio, I believe. And I had shotguns. I had handguns. We were in the leather business at that time. I had leather gear. I had badges, whistles, all the equipment, everything. The only thing we didn't have was a shirt and trousers.
I wasn't briefed properly on the subject.
Welcome to Rap Beer. Vernon Harrell, it's your second appearance. Vernon was the very first episode I recorded, and we did it at John Bankson's dinner table up in Durham.
It was a good time.
It was a good time. I was nervous Nelly. Now I'm acting like I'm getting a little bit good at it. It turned out to be a great episode. And we talked a lot about Blue Velvet. Mm-hmm. So Vernon Harrell, welcome.
Thank you.
And Fred Pickler. Oh, my goodness. we're honored to have you here, sir.
Well, it's my pleasure and honor.
My goodness. And, I think Vernon and I can say we've had very interesting and storied lives and careers, but I think it pales in comparison to yours,
It's true.
And tell me a little bit about it. Where'd you come from? How'd you get here?
I came from the Sand Hills in North Carolina near Pinehurst. Actually, I was born in Pinehurst and grew up in Pine Bluff. Population 728, and I had a lot of good experiences in early life that put me on the path of working and gaining for whatever field I got in. And my friend from Australia used to say, now this Yank here, you're going to have a hard time understanding him, but he's done everything but drive a pink bulldozer. And I got bless his heart, he was something. We moved to Wilmington in, I think, 56, and from here, in 59, I went in the Army, and that was, I went in at 17, and got out at 20, and still couldn't buy liquor. And I got to think about it, I said, shit, I'm going to go back in the military again.
Where you can buy liquor.
Yeah, that's right, and I rejoined. I did two of the best years of my life in Berlin, from 60 to 62.
Oh, wow.
And when the wall went up, I was right there. And I thought World War III was going to start. And then I got out, and I thought I was going into military intelligence, which is an oxymoron. But
right.
Actually, I went into the Army Security Agency, and it was not for me. The people in that group were college graduates with degrees in electronics engineers, and most of them received commissions at the end of the training course. I was just an E4 at the time. But I made life miserable for them while they were in school. They were privates then.
Uh-huh.
I went to Korea for 10 months and then came back for 2 years at Fort Huachuca, Arizona. And I got tired of doing all that mess and came back and started with the Star News as a news photographer. I worked for them for about a year and a half, and then I moved on down to Fort Lauderdale and went to work for the Sun Sentinel Fort Lauderdale News. And I took the wrong picture down there one time, and it turned up on the front page with a byline.
Whoopsie.
And that night I got a visit with a brick through my window and said, you need to leave town. And that was my invitation. I grabbed all my stuff out, threw it in my old car, and drove back to North Carolina.
Good thing you believed him.
Oh, yeah. And they were serious. I mean, all it was a funeral, but I photographed all the family that was there.
How'd you learn photography?
I studied it in Germany under a World War II veteran that was a military photographer for the German Army, the Wehrmacht, and he was a good guy, Dieter Gerds Jaworski, I believe his name was, and he he taught me the basics and the darkroom procedures, and he did a good job. I bought my first camera over there. It was an Exacta made in East Germany at the time, and I worked with it for a couple of years. In fact, when I started photographing the hermit, I still had it, and I used that camera to do a lot. It was a single lens reflex, very good camera. Well, I started out as a freelance photographer, and I did that after I left Fort Lauderdale, came back to Wilmington. I was freelance for a couple of years, and I started observing all the drug activity that was going on in the Wilmington area. And the next thing I know, I started first as I guess you'd call it a snitch, and using the photographer for a cover. And I got more and more concerned about it. One of the young ladies that was an absolute gorgeous gal, she got overdosed on heroin and died.
Oh, no.
And from that point on, I said, that's it. And I went after the heroin, mainly the heroin sellers up in town. There was two rings. There was one on the north side and one around Dawson Street. And I infiltrated the Dawson Street gang, got 17 people over there selling. I bought them from 17 different people. And then went over to the north side and got 6 more over there. And they were a little more cautious over there. We came out. I went into crime scene investigation at the Sheriff's Department, did that for 7 years. And then I went to work with a defense contractor up in Maryland selling chemical munitions, mainly tear gas and alarm systems they put in embassies to dispense tear gas. And then I did that for 4 years, retired, went to work as Desert Shield was going on at that time, and I went to work for a laser company out in Oregon. That was a good time. I produced more stuff than they could develop. And
Goodness gracious.
I just, I came in the first year. I sold in England, Amsterdam, Netherlands, and Germany. These gun-mounted lasers, and like I say, a new guy came in that took over marketing, and he had a degree from Stanford that he knew all about marketing. He didn't know crap.
Are these lasers going handheld guns
yes,
and stuff of that nature?
Yes,
yeah, because I remember we had one in a prop. Golden years was a big deal.
Oh yeah,
right. That was new technology.
Yeah,
we also had a barcode reader, and during Desert Storm, to prevent fratricide, they painted barcodes on stenciled them on the top of the tank, the side of the tanks, and the trucks and all that. And the gunner would come in there, set up. He had the heads-up display system, and he would hit the button to acquire the target. And if that laser would go out and read that barcode, and he couldn't pull, the trigger would not pull. He wouldn't fire.
Wow.
How cool
Good
is
safety.
that?
Yeah. Really cool.
What I really love is this idea of you taking on the heroin gangs and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And what that means for the role of Yellowman. Really what you brought to the game on that. So tell us how that came about. What?
My wife and I had a prop shop as a result of Firestarter. We rented a couple of things to whoever was prop over there. I can't even remember who it was now. But we rented some equipment to them. And I got to thinking about it. I said, pretty good money in this. And I met the famous Tantar, Edward Levasseur. Mm-hmm. And Tantar took me by the hand. He developed a liking to me. He was a good guy. And he and the money lady were real close. I think they got married.
Lynn Lucibello.
They
were dating.
Yeah.
For a while.
And
they did get engaged.
They got engaged.
Yep.
Yes, they
They
did.
got engaged.
Yeah.
But he told me, he said, go in there and do your presentation. And I said, what? He said, the props presentation. Just take the script in there and check everything that you can deliver to them. Okay. I sat down I think it was in this building here. That's where the
Of
headquarters
course it was.
Probably was, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I sat there and checked all the stuff off, and then we had a meeting with David Lynch and the art director,
Patty Norris designed
Patty
it.
Norris.
Okay.
Patty Norris.
Yeah, she was the
Patty
designer.
And yeah, and she and he were there together, and we're talking, and you know, when I get in a conversation, I go into some war stories, you know, to spice things up, and she just calmly said, "There's a Yellowman," and David said, "Yup."
Ooh, nice.
And
Wow.
I finished, and they hadn't come on about what they were doing. He said, "Take this script with you and hang on to it and go over it and just see if there's anything interesting in there that we might have missed." I did, and that afternoon I get a call from Fred Caruso. He said, "They got this part. They want you to come out there and do." He said, "Are you interested?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, you got to come out here and do some rushes. Is that what they call them? Shorts. Shoot in front of the camera."
Camera test.
Yeah,
Camera test.
Yeah. And I said, "Okay, when do you want me to do it?" He said, "Well, the sooner the better." And I said, "Okay." And they sent a limo out there to pick me up. And when we got here, Caruso's standing out there, and he said, "We don't need to do this. He's got the part." And I said, "What part?" He said, "The Yellowman." I said, "Okay, where do I sign?" He said, "Who's your agent?" I said, "Do I need one?" And Tantar was telling me, he found out that I was offered the part. He said, "Whatever you do, tell them you want a SAG contract, and you want credits, you want front credits, and you want residuals." And I told Caruso that, and he said, "Who's your agent?" I said, "Do I need one?" He said, "I don't think so." And
He wouldn't.
That's amazing, and just how astute Tantar is on that. Hey, Mo, this is what you need.
Right.
You know?
yeah, oh yeah, and I said when I came out, we did the high five. And he said, "Man," he said, "you nailed it. You're good." He said, "I'll see you on the set."
I wasn't briefed properly on this subject.
And I started, gathering up. I carried the script back home, and the wife, I said, "Guess what?" She said, "What?" I said, "Got a part in the movie." She said, "What part?" And I told her I had the part that Dennis Hopper played. And she read that script. She said, "No way."
You said that as a joke, or
Yeah,
you did
yeah,
that
yeah,
better?
as a joke. And she said, I said, "Well, I'll tell you what. I think I'm going to do the part of the Yellowman." She said, "Okay. What about your other job?" At that time, I was working for Smith & Wesson, the gun company.
Right.
And the prop thing was just a weekend type activity or here and there activity. And I had a lot of time that I could adjust however I wanted to do it. When I went back with the contract, I told Fred, I said, "Here's the deal on this thing." I said, "I've got 14 days vacation coming." I said, "I'm off every weekend, and I'm willing to use however much of that vacation I need." He said, "Well, you'll probably be on the set for a couple of weeks, but not constant."
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay." And actually, it was a month, I think I was there. I was in Orlando, Florida, working a show down there, and I got to the hotel to check in, and the lady at the desk said, "You need to make a call right now. You need to call home." And this was before cell phones, even before pagers. We didn't have either one.
100%. We were all there.
Yep.
Yeah. And I said, "What?" And she said, "You need to call your wife right now." I said, "Okay." And she handed me the phone. And she had the number. She dialed the number. My wife answered. She said, "You need to go to the airport and get on the first plane. They're probably holding one from you. You need to get out to the airport right now." I said, "What's up?" She said, "They need you at the movie set." Okay. And I got on, I think it was 45 minutes. I had 45 minutes to get there, get in on the aircraft from the airport. Got everything arranged in 45 minutes. The plane took off, landed in Wilmington at, I think it was about 11 o'clock. And I went in, young PA came out and he said, "Clock's on you there, friend." He said, "You're going to be here for a while." I said, "I don't have a problem with that." Next thing I know, it's midnight came, and they did one shot, one scene there where I'm sitting at the desk writing, and Kyle came in. Jeffrey. And he came in, and he was drinking water, and he looked in there at me, and I'm sitting there with a yellow jacket on. And I just looked up like that and went back. Didn't speak, didn't say a word. Got finished, and I think it was about 1 o'clock we finished.
In the morning.
In the morning. And I went back and I said, the PA said, you can go on to the airport. He said, they got an aircraft waiting on you. I said, there ain't no flights going out of Wilmington past 10 o'clock at night. He said, there is a flight out there for you at the airport. He said, you go to the private airport. I go out there, and there's a Gulfstream jet sitting out there. I climbed up on that thing, like a big shot.
You're right, man.
And I flew. And he told me, he said, when you get back in your room, you call me. That's when your time stops. Well,
wow.
11, 12,
door to
1,
door.
1:30. I think it was 2 o'clock when I got back to the room. And I called him. He said, okay, you're on diamond time right now, which is triple overtime, I believe. I said, okay, that's good. I'm done. He said, okay, have a nice day. So we'll call you again. Now, I found out they offered Charles Durning he asked for $100,000 to do that part. I did it
Amazing.
I think I ended up making about $60,000
For Yellowman.
For Yellowman.
Yeah.
And that was for probably a total on the set less than 40 hours. It was good money. It was easy money.
But that commute from Florida must have killed you.
Seeing a movie made for me was an adventure, number one. Number two, it kind of spoiled me because I never noticed breaks and changes in scenes before, how they did it.
Right.
I'm looking at this thing later. Every movie I looked at, I said, why the hell are they cutting here? Put a commercial in and whatever.
Yeah.
And it went on for, I used, I think, 4 days of vacation. And the rest of it, we shot on weekends. And I'm on double time, platinum time, diamond time. Made more money than I ever made in my life.
Are you still getting residuals?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. They got one 2 weeks ago, I think it was. They're getting smaller. It was $188 this time.
Yeah, that's a good night out.
Oh, yeah. It pays for my aspirin. It pays for a steak still with my wife.
There you go.
But I really got into studying a lot about what's going on behind the scenes. I saw people that working like an army of ants. Everybody had a job to do. Everybody did the job. They respected me. I mean,
Yeah.
it was unbelievable. I'm the star, I got my own tag on the door and all that sort of stuff. I'm looking at the people, the merchants, the stuff they're bringing in here. I said, this can't be bad.
Right.
99% of the people I met in the movie industry were great people. They were craftsmen, men and women. There was a percentage of them, at 1%, that
Well, it's just like in any group. You're going to get people that are
Get a
just
bad
not
apple.
your type of people.
You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. I enjoyed, and when I finished Blue Velvet, they offered me a part in King Kong Lives.
Right.
They wanted me to be a heart surgeon, climb inside the heart and do some work on it.
I didn't see you on that set.
I didn't do it. I told David, he said, man, you ought to take that part. He said, it's going to be good money. I said, well, I don't want to quit my day job. And I'll have to on this thing because I know it's mostly daytime and they're not going to shoot to my schedule. I said, I just can't do it.
Well, I got to tell you, Fred, you brought something special to that role. It's iconic.
Oh, yeah.
By what you brought to the table. There's no doubt. Yes, you're scary as shit.
You don't want to see some people react. I had a yellow jacket, and I wore it. I don't know why I did it, but I carried it to Berlin. I carried it to Germany where I was working over there, and I carried that jacket. And I went to Berlin, and they were having a damn film festival, the Golden Globes or the Bear. Anyway, it was an international festival.
Yeah.
And when I walked in the hotel, it was a real nice hotel, Intercontinental. The guy said, he looks at me and he says, we have a special room for you, sir. I'm thinking, what are they going to put me in the basement, the closet? And I go up here and it's a suite.
Nice.
And I'm paying $100 and I think $105 a night for this suite. I had it for 3 nights. I had it Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. And I said, there's something going on here. And I went back down to the lobby, and it's people all around. And all of a sudden, this mob comes in around me, autographs, taking pictures, and all that sort of stuff. And I'm saying, oh, boy. And I went back that night. I went to bed and got up the next morning. I said, I think I'll put that yellow jacket on and walk around and see what happens. I put the sunglasses on, the yellow jacket, and I made it about 10 steps out the door, and here comes another crowd. The Yellowman, the gelber, the gelber.
It was really popular in Europe.
Oh, yeah. It was I thought I was going to end up getting a Golden Globe or something out of the thing. And I happened to be there just taking some time off.
Well played. And it's that movie. I think the best thing that happened in that movie is that the budget got cut drastically.
Yep.
Dune flopped. So it was originally supposed to be like $14 million or something.
Yeah.
Right. It came in, I think, Dina said you got $4 million.
Yep.
Probably the best thing that ever happened.
Yep.
And wonderfully crafted in many ways.
Oh, yeah.
Vernon had a huge role on it.
All those guys were wonderful.
And I think
Everybody did.
but again, your part so special and so wonderful, and I'm glad it's been meaningful to you for all these decades. That's just wonderful.
I was having a hard time accepting that role, being identified with it as I traveled. I'd be on an airplane, and I flew first class every day because I was in a regular chairman's club there, and I flew up in the front every day. And people would get on the plane, and they'd make eye contact with me, and every once in a while, one of them they'd come up and say, "Excuse me, are you somebody?" I said, "No." and the flight attendants, they swooned around and catered to my every whim. And I said, there's a lot of crazy people here. I mean, whoo. My wife and I, at the premiere of the movie in Wilmington, we almost got up and walked out. When Dennis went into his F-bombs, she said, "What is this?" I said, just relax. It'll get better. And we sat there. And when I came in the first scene, I hear several people, "That's that damn Pickler." He's in the movies. And we didn't say anything about it, me getting that part. One police officer that had I think a one-word part, they had him in the newspaper. And several other locals, they wrote them up.
Yeah.
They never knew I was there until I came into the movie. And same thing. We're trying to get out of the theater, and everybody's shoving a program in my face to get signed and all this sort of stuff. I said, yeah, okay. We went out to San Francisco a year after it was done. I had my wife and daughter with me. We're in the Hard Rock Cafe. And my wife said, "Why are those people looking at you? Everybody in the restaurant." I said, "Well, I don't know." And I looked around and said, and then the waitress comes over there, and she's got a pad in her hand. She said, "Are you ready to order?" I said, "Sure." She said, "Anything you want, you need to order it." I said, "Okay." I said, and we back in those days, if you were dining in there, you didn't have to wait in line at the gift shop. You just give them the order, and they'd go get it. I said, "By the way," I said, "we need to get a couple of items out of the gift shop." She said, "No problem." And I called for the bill at the end, and she brought it was an embroidered sweatshirt. My daughter got some kind of knick-knack. I can't remember what it was now. And my wife got a sweatshirt. Yeah, she got a jacket, just a light jacket, and Hard Rock Cafe, San Francisco. And I called for the check, and she said, "It's already been taken care of." And I said, "Who?" She said, "He asked me not to say." She asked me if I would sign an autograph to it. Yeah. And I said, "Do you want to put a name on it?" She said, "No, he just wants your autograph and blue velvet." I said, "Okay." And I'm sitting there looking. It was over $100. And I'm looking around. I told her, I said, "See if anybody's staring at us." And she said, "Yep, that guy right straight in front of us, over to the right, at the fourth table down." And I did. As soon as I made eye contact with him, he goes, just red. And I went, "Thank you."
I wasn't briefed properly on the subject.
Let me give you a couple of other observations about the movie industry here. Money flows out from this industry. Like there's no bottom to it.
One direction.
One direction
It's true.
to the people. Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody is well paid. They buy, God Almighty, a lot of material here, lumber,
Yes.
everything they buy. Rental. They'll pay a rental with no questions asked.
Vernon and our job has been to spend that money.
Tens of thousands of dollars, and a lot of it cash.
I first 5 years or so, I came up to I think I spent $5 million myself.
The people, the workers, the true workers, are in a class by themselves. They are top of the line. They're good citizens. They're honest. Some of them have some bad habits. Well, hell, out in the populace, I think it's 1% of the country has bad habits. I remember Dino came out there one time before we started. I think it was No Mercy. He had the whole crew, everybody, out there, standing out there in the back lot. He said, I'll tell you right now, I find any drugs here, you'll never work a job again in the industry. You're done. You leave your damn drugs outside.
Interesting.
And that's, we went about our way and
I
started
missed that
making the movie.
meeting. Vernon, I don't think you and I got that message.
I missed that movie.
I would have to worship Tantar's grave. He was good to me.
Yeah.
He put me in the right position.
Yeah.
He gave me golden advice. He introduced me to the right people. The treatment I got was absolute. I mean, from all aspects. Rental. They made my wife and I, we wouldn't say wealthy, but we lived comfortably. I had my income from Smith & Wesson, which was good money, and we had the rental from money from the prop shop rentals. Oh God! And the lady or guy that was walking around with that little can, they'd tell you what they need and how much is the rental, and about half the time, count the cash out. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they said, send us a bill, give us a bill, and we'll pay you instantly, and they always paid.
And what were you renting mostly, like police belts and stuff?
Yeah,
of that
I
nature?
did. I told them I could get them any firearm in the industry. I had contacts with all the major manufacturers. I got Mickey Rourke, a Desert Eagle, 357 Magnum. They weren't even out to the public at that time.
Wow.
I called him. I said, I need a blank equipped 357 mag Desert Eagle. He said, when do you need it? I said, well, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, it would be good. He said, okay. And 2 days later, it came to my home there, Federal Express, and it was first AM delivery. You know that thing, I bet it cost a couple $100 to bring it to me. But I carried it out here to the set and I said, okay, I got his gun. And I had to work with him a little bit to show him how to use it.
Right.
And not to, I did all the safety on it and all that stuff.
Sure.
That was another thing I was doing. Virtually every movie that there was a firearm in, I did safety presentations. Yeah. Well, I don't want to blow his head up too high, but Vernon was, even when Vernon pulled the gun out of the safe, first thing he'd do was walk over there to me and open the cylinder or pull the slide back. And I'd look at it and I'd say, okay, gun's safe.
I wasn't briefed properly on the subject.
Fred Caruso has been hounding me for several years now. Every time he called, first thing he says, when are we going to do this? When are you going to send me the information to do this movie? I said, Fred, they've already done it. He said, what do you mean? Who did it? I said, well, it was called Lord of War. He said, oh, no. He said, you're far and above that guy. Okay, here's what you got to do. You got to write a book, all your history, all your stories. He said, you got some damn good stuff there. He said, and I know I could get support to do a movie with you.
That's great.
So when are you going to do it?
COVID nearly killed me. It triggered stage 4 lung cancer while I was in the hospital.
Wow. Oh, heavens.
And the COVID, I stuck on oxygen for 3 weeks and finally recovered. Had a miracle one night. I was laying there, and the nurse came in, and he says, "Are you all right, brother?" I said, "I'm thinking about checking out." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I'm going to meet God. I'm done with this. I just can't take it anymore." He said, "Wait, just hold everything. Stop. Don't do another thing till I get back." He comes back and he's got a little blue pill. It was like 11 o'clock at night, and I still just wide awake. Couldn't get to sleep. He gives me this little blue pill. Next thing I know, I'm laying there in that bed, and the next morning I woke up about 10 o'clock. All the churches my three sisters and several friends were going to, they did a prayer service for me that day. And most of the prayer services started around 10 o'clock, the first service. I'm laying there in the bed about 10:30, and I woke up and I looked over at the oxygen thing, and it's down. It was at 9 liters. It's down now to 7. And I'm saying, and it felt like a silk sheet, something very light. There's no way at all. It started at my toes and went right over my head. And when that happened, when that ceased, I said, and the doctor came in about that time. He looked at me and said, "What'd you do?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You look amazingly good today. You must have got a good night's sleep." I said, and I told him what happened. He's over doing that, wiping. He said, the hair was standing up on his arm. He said, "I believe in miracles." And I said, "Well, Doc, why are you up there typing? Take that DNR off my chart there." And he went on and said, "Would play." And I think I was there for another week, and then I checked out. But the stage 4 lung cancer, they found it, and same shit, man. The oncologist said, "Well," he said, "we'll start you on chemo now," and that was in March, I think. Start you on chemo, and he said, "I can probably keep you around until about October." I said, "So what happens in October?" He said, "Well, be up to God." I said, "You mind if I get a second opinion?" He said, "Not at all." And I contacted a friend of a friend, and he contacted a friend at Duke. I couldn't even get past the operator on the phone at Duke.
Right.
And he says, I told him what was going on. He said, "Let me make a call." He made the call, and he was a retired doctor, and we were real close. Back in the early days, he worked at the State Bureau of Investigation, and we were very close. And this doctor, he introduced me to him at a gun show, and he asked for an autographed copy of my book on the hermit. And I autographed it for him. And I handed it to him, and he said, "How much?" I said, "You're a friend of Jim's. You paid for it." He's putting up with him. And he looked at me and he said, "Are you serious?" I said, "I'm serious. You have my deepest respect and blessing that putting up with him." And he said, "I understand you got a little problem." I said, "Yeah, a slight one." He said, "Well, let me take care of it." I said, "Okay." This was Saturday. That Monday morning, I get a call from Durham. I look at my caller ID and I said, "Who in the hell is that?" And I picked the phone. "Hello," and it was the doctor that actually took my case. He said, "Everything's been explained to me." He said, "I pulled your chart up. I got my chart and I pulled it up and took a look at it." He said, "When do you want to come up here?" I said, "Well, make it light on yourself, Doc." He said, "How about 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon?" I said,
Wow.
"Okay." And wife and I jumped in the car and drove up to Durham. Walked in this place about 15 minutes early and went straight on back.
Wow.
Hour and a half he took with us. He explained the side effects of chemo, and one of them was death, and immunotherapy. He said, we're doing a lot of good with that immunotherapy. He said, basically there's only 2 side effects. He said, and they're livable. He said, "I'll be honest with you." He said, "If it affects you, it's very rare. And if it affects you, you won't be happy, but you'll be glad to be alive." I said, "Well, I choose the," and he said, "Which one do you choose?" I said, "Which one do you recommend?" He said, "Oh, no, I can't recommend you. It's up to you." I said, "I think I'll try that immunotherapy." He said, "That's what I would have taken."
Amazing.
And he said, "Your doctor is very respected up here." He said, what I've done, I've already taken the incentive to do it. He said, "I've got you lined up. He's going to administer it to it, so you want to make that 2-hour drive every once a week." I said, "Okay." And 4 days later, my oncologist called. He said, "You ready to start your treatment?" I said, "Yeah." And little tiny bags. I'm talking, there's probably 20 cc's in the bags.
Right.
Now, I'm doing 2-liter bags before that with some kind of chemical in it.
Right.
Not chemical, but some kind of stuff, medicine. And these 2 little bags took an hour for each bag to drip into my system. And the reason they did it, because if you had a reaction to the medicine, they could reverse it. And the second one they done, and then I had to sit there for 1 more hour, so 3 hours total. The nurse came over and said, "Okay, you're good to go. I'll see you in I think 3 weeks, 3 weeks apart." She said, "I'll see you in 3 weeks." I said, "Okay." This went on for 4 months. I go into the oncologist's office June, I think it was July. I really think it was July. I go in his office, and he comes in smiling. I said, "Oh, he got some kind of news that might be good." Right. He said, he said, I there's a lot of things I don't understand. He said, I believe in God. I do." He said, "and I hate to tell anybody that they're going to die. I'm not supposed to be able to do that." He said, "But I'm a realist too." He said, "But the spot in your brain," and they did a radiation shot up there at a mask like Hannibal wore.
Right.
Both had been down with the table.
Yes.
Couldn't move. And they did that shot in my brain, had a spot there, and they did a shot on the upper lobe of my lung, about the size of 4 fingers now, has that scarring up there from radiation. They hit the liver, they hit the, and the rest of it was medication. He walks in, he said, "Well," he said, "the spot in your brain is gone. Don't know where it went, but it's gone." He said, "The one in your lungs," he said, "it's kaput."
Wow.
He said, "The other 2 have not changed in the last 2 months." He said, "I'm not going to say it's in remission yet. In fact, I'm going back in the 14th to get x-rays of my head,
right.
chest, CAT, MRIs, PETs, all kinds of stuff. I'll be glowing when I come out of there." But it's on hold. And I this miracle number 2, I just believe it.
Congratulations.
Yep.
Well done, Fred.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I've lived a good life. I know there's a reason for God preserving me. I don't know what it is. People say you may never know. And the way I'm getting the feelings on that book, I think I got to do the book.
Rap Beer is created and written by Scott Davis and John D. Kretschmer. The music is by Turbo Pro Project. This one-of-a-kind podcast is recorded at the historic screening room at Cinespace Studios in Wilmington, North Carolina. Copyright Bluffco Industry, 2024.